I woke up this morning to this tweet that was shared to me multiple times about how Mastercard had posted a update clarifying their stance on gaming content. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. I'm sure this is going to be exactly what I think it was. And sure as shit, that's absolutely what it was. Mastercard News posted, not Mastercard, by the way, their official account. This is their secondary account, Mastercard News. And they said, clarifying recent headlines on gaming content. Mastercard has not evaluated any game or required restrictions of any activity on game creator sites and platforms, contrary to media reports and allegations, which that was a lie, and I can prove it in this video. We're going to talk about that, but first, let's continue. Our payment network follows standards based on the rule of law. Put simply, we allow all lawful purchases on our network. At the same time, we require merchants to have appropriate controls to ensure MasterCards cannot be used for unlawful purchases, including illegal adult content. Now, the verbiage that they use here is very interesting because you have to remember MasterCard is a worldwide company. So what they could be saying is illegal could be referring to any number of countries that consider something illegal and then saying, yeah, that's the one we're talking about. And that's where we're applying it worldwide on things because we're MasterCard and we can wiggle our way through whatever we want with how we talk about things. And this got hit with a masterful community note that says both Steam and Itch have stated their removal of adult content came from pressure by payment processors, including Mastercard, with a link to The Guardian. Furthermore, Mastercard and other payment processors have documented history of refusing service to Japanese retailers over legal adult content. And another link to Kotaku US magazine. Visa and MasterCard refused to work with another dojinshi retailer. So hit with a masterful community note. And I said, imagine thinking you could gaslight at this point instead of being honest and just simply backtracking, which seems to be the trend with massive corporations that will never take an L. They will never accept that they screwed up or got caught. They will always try to wiggle out of it and be like, well, it's a misunderstanding because what we really meant to say is this other thing that you're not really figuring out. So you just got to believe us because you're too stupid to understand how corporations work. This comes to us from ASL Pro 3D, who said, TLDR to my response, partially true, partially misdirection. Read post on why. Interesting choice of words, and in a way, Mastercard is correct. But let me tell you how this really worked out, folks. Stick with me on this, and you will see they are misdirecting and not exactly truthful here. Mastercard is correct. They didn't talk to Itch or Steam. They talked to the Internet Merchant Account, or IMA. That is usually owned by a bank, credit union, or financial institution who acts as the credit card processor. And it is the processor's job to provide an internet gateway from a website's online store to MasterCard, Visa, American Express, Discover, etc., and back. What is likely happened here is Collective Soul contacted Visa and MasterCard, as we've been doing, and they were not getting the movement they wanted directly from the stores, Steam and Itch, so they went directly to Visa and MasterCard, complained, and someone at those companies either provided information of who Steam and Itch.io's internet merchant accounts IMAs were, or directly contacting the IMAs to tell them to enforce the product and service rules in regard to branding, protecting the Visa MasterCard brand and the respective internet merchant accounts, i.e. bank. Each website then contacted Steam and Itch and told them that they need to clean up their book of products or be turned off and blacklisted and unable to get another processor to continue to operate and conduct online sales. I know this because I am one of the creators and used to be one of the owners of Renderosity and Renderotica. And I had to do this BS dance on the whims of banks, processors, and credit card companies on a regular basis, even as far back as 1999 and 2000. So they say Collective Soul. I think, is that the band? I think he means Collective Shout. Mastercard is truthful here. They likely didn't contact Steam or itch directly. Instead, they likely just contacted the internet merchant processors and told them to make this problem go away. So the internet merchant account processors reminded Steam about the product safety rules regarding branding. And if they didn't fall in line, the draconian rules, they would have no choice but to turn off the access to processing. That's what happened. All because of moralistic branding rules from banks and bankers to look like the good guys while conducting sometimes scuzzy deals, force upon IMAs to enforce online stores. Till those rules change, Visa, MasterCard, and other institutions that make up these corporations will continue to enforce their rule based on company policy rather than the rule of law. And I was tagged on this, so shout out again to ASL Pro 3D for the personal experience on what may be happening behind the scenes on this. Then we have Kiwi Farms, who came out with a banger of all places referencing and tagging Kotaku. And they said, Kotaku has received a response from Valve confirming the payment processors and acquired banks cited Mastercard network rules as justification for banning adult games. More on financial censorship and the discussion here. And this is the screenshot from the Kotaku article from Ethan Guy. Mastercard denies pressuring Steam to censor not safe for work games. Update. Valve responds. The company said it only requires standards based on the rule of law. And then we got the update here. It says, update. In a statement to Kotaku, a spokesperson for Valve said that while Mastercard did not communicate with it directly, concerns did come through payment processor and bank intermediaries. They said payment processors rejected Valve's current guidelines for moderating illegal content on Steam, citing Mastercard's rule 5.12.7. So right here, we have factual proof, if they are to be believed, that Mastercard is straight up lying. Mastercard did not communicate with Valve directly, despite our request to do so. Valve statement sent over email, Kotaku reads, Mastercard communicated with payment processors and their acquired banks. Payment processors communicated this with Valve, and we replied by outlining Steam's policy since 2018 of attempting to distribute games that are legal for distribution. Payment processors rejected this and specifically cited Mastercard's rule of 5.12.7 and risk to the Mastercard brand. 5.12.7 states a merchant must not submit to its acquirer, and a customer must not submit to the interchange system. Any transaction that is illegal or in sole discretion of the corporation may damage the goodwill of the corporation or reflect negatively on the marks. It goes on to say the sale of a product or service, including an image, which is patently offensive and lacks serious artistic value, such as, by way of example and not limitation, images of non-consensual sex behavior, exploitation, minor, this, all this other stuff, or other material that the corporation deems unacceptable to sell in connection with the mark. Violations of Rule 5.12.7 can result in fines, audits, or companies being dropped from the payment processors, which, yep, that was a lie, and specifically called out in the original post where they reference the Guardian article. It says, why did thousands of adult titles just disappear from the biggest PC gaming marketplaces? Digital distribution platforms Steam and itch have tightened their rules about adult content under pressure from payment processors. Why has this happened and where will it lead? And it goes into further detail specifying how it came specifically from Mastercard and Visa because of Collective Shout, the Australian organization that describes itself as a grassroots campaign movement against the objectification of women and that of girls. In April, it successfully petitioned to have the game No Mercy, which featured depictions of this stuff, removed from Steam and itch, which, by the way, when that happened, we talked about this. I was like, that is not great, because once something like this happens, a slippery slope begins, and it only gets worse as time goes on. And wouldn't you know, the next thing that happens is all these other games start coming down, and we're like, okay, we're going to need to put our foot down right now and draw a line in the sand, because this can't keep happening. This was a problem when it happened in No Mercy, and it's even more of a problem because it's expanded and grown like a virus, consuming much more adult content. After this, the group published an open letter to payment processors claiming to have discovered hundreds of other games featuring that stuff on Steam and itch, which of course, what do you think? They were just going to be like, cool, we got one game banned. We're going to retire now. Like, these people never stop. This is what motivates them. This is what finances them. And requesting payment processors demonstrate corporate social responsibility and immediately cease processing payments on Steam and itch. After Steam altered its rules, Collective Shout claimed credit for the change, stating that more than 1,000 of its supporters had called or emailed payment processors to demand they stop facilitating payments and profiting from these games. Okay, so they're saying more than 1,000 of their supporters had called or emailed. Guys, just based off of some preliminary research on what's been happening with people calling Visa and MasterCard lately, I would say there's probably hundreds of thousands calling Visa and MasterCard right now, pushing back against them. So you got to ask yourself, if you're Visa and MasterCard, was it worth it? I think that they're trying their best to pretend like it was and they did the right thing because they just stood by their morals of what their rules are. And it's not them, guys. It's other stuff. We just follow the rule of law. It's not us. Please stop calling us. When at the end of the day, this is them. 100% them. And we now have factual proof that they are lying. A massive corporation, one of the largest in the world, gets community noted for lying, trying to explain themselves. Doesn't fly here, and people are calling their asses out. And I'm here for it. And I got a feeling that this is not even close to the last that we heard of it. Master of TDS, shout out to him for upvoting, which I did when I saw this come through. Rev says, Desu says, resorting to blatant gaslighting now, huh? Yeah, they're nervous. Keep up the pressure. Everyone's here, by the way. Grums, why do you require Stripe to enforce stricter standards than yourself? Itch.io stated that you and Visa put pressure on Stripe to ban content otherwise deemed legal. Can you explain? Hypnotic, nice gaslight. You guys pressured companies to take down illegal adult content, period. It's not illegal just because it makes you feel uncomfortable. If what you said is true, then these platforms should bring back the newly taken down content with zero issues on your end. Great point. Absolutely banger post by Hypnotic. Emerald Apple, you sit on a throne of lies. Pirate Nation, why are you lying? With the post from Collective Shout claiming victory of them contacting MasterCard, Visa, and PayPal. Real Life Fake Wizard, that's a whole lot of corporate speak to say nothing. If that was supposed to make people trust you, you failed. Fire the social media intern that made this post on Canva. I don't think this is a social media intern. I have a feeling that this is something that was written by the very higher-ups of Visa and MasterCard and probably grazed over by their legal team and then pumped out to social media. I don't think this was an intern that put this together. I think that this is somebody very up high at MasterCard that got approval from someone even higher up to make sure that this is okay to go out there. And they still got caught lying. Bold-faced lie. So yes, the job is not done until they admit that they were caught lying and they revert what they were doing. So my stance is, if they're going to keep lying about it, people need to keep calling and issuing their concerns and frustration of a company that, let's be honest, has a global stranglehold on the economy, that has way too much power, unregulated, and now is determining what is allowed and what's not on game sites, which is insane. I never thought I'd say those words. This entire situation is insane. This may be the very biggest story of all of 2025, or even bigger than that. It might be the biggest story of the decade. This is insane what's happening right now. And it's only getting worse with them lying and doubling down on it. I can't believe it. Like, genuinely, I can't believe it. I'll leave that one there.